So I want to make a difference. So how am I going to make a difference? I'm going to talk about sex, and I'm going to talk about relationships, yeah? Because we're in relationship with everyone and everything all around us, yeah? And if you're going to become a parent, somewhere along the line, someone has had sex, yeah? Someone, even if it's with a test tube. Sex is involved, right? So I like to talk about sex. So what is sex anyway? I mean, has anybody ever asked themselves that question? So let me tell you a little story. This has been my kind of discovery about what sex is and what sex is for me. And talking about it really authentically, because these things that are slightly taboo, you know, we can talk about hemorrhaging in the last talk, but we can't talk about sex. I mean, something's sort of not quite right, you know, when we can't be really open about these topics. So when I was a girl, I was really insecure, yeah? It was like I had the looks, I had the body. I didn't really appreciate it back then, but a lot of us don't. I had the smile, I had the sparkle, you know, the mojo, yeah? And I used it. And I used it to connect. I used it to connect with men. And this was like, my way of connecting with men was through sex. I was like, wow, this is really interesting. I had no idea, of course, at the time. That awareness came years later. But what this need was, because I needed something, yeah? I had a need that I was looking to be filled, like literally, you know, through sexual connection. And what that need was had nothing to do with sex at all, yeah? It was a need to belong. It was a need to feel special, to feel seen, to be heard, to be valued, yeah, to be recognized, to be loved. Yeah, I was using it to get what I wanted. I was using it to feel better about myself, essentially. You know, I could attract, I could seduce, I could transact. You know, so sex as a transaction is nothing new. But bringing awareness to this, that this is, you know, some of the unconscious behaviors that we all operate in. So this might be what we're doing kind of in our relationships. You know, it's like, yes, I'll give you that and you give me this, and, you know, it's an interesting way of looking at it. So, you know, sex as a transaction, it comes from our conditioned past. You know, this has been around for a long time. Yeah, sex has been used as a transaction. You know, I mean, it's the oldest profession in the book, right? So what are these other transactions? You know, sex to get love. You know, oh, I'll give you sex if you just love me. I'll give you sex for security. You know, you'll provide the house so that I can so that we can raise our children. Sex to get intimacy. You know, who's had sex just to actually get the cuddles afterwards? You know, I've definitely done that. You know, it's like, wow, couldn't I just ask for the cuddles? Actually, I just really want to cuddle. You know, can we just skip the sex and just have the cuddles? Sex to get power. Sex to get your husband doing the dishes. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely used this one. It's like, hey baby, I really can't face the kitchen tonight, you know, I'll give you a bit of ooh la la if you'd go and sort it out for me. And do you know how fast he sorted out that kitchen? But that's the clarity around it. It's like, okay, if it's going to be a transaction, then awesome, name it. Yeah, then it's just out in the open. He knows what he's getting, I know what I'm doing, you know, it's clear. It's from a really clear space. So I love asking these questions. You guys are looking at me thinking, why is she talking about sex? We came to hear about parenting. But this is all intertwined, you know, and when we start to look at what's underneath these things and to bring clarity to the belief systems that we have. Yeah, I used sex to get something. Yeah, I used something to get something. I used sex to get connection. I used sex to get love. I used sex to feel valued. Interesting when you start to see that. So what is sex for you? You know, why do you have sex? You know, it's really interesting to start looking at that. It brings such clarity. So now I'm going to put lust on the board, and everyone over here is going to go, what is she talking about now? Because now she's talking about lust. And it's like, okay, so the animal kingdom operate from lust, right? They don't have all these kind of conditioned patterns and belief systems and stuff that we kind of drag into it from a mental capacity. They just kind of get on with it, right? And the beauty of this is that if you can sort of lift yourself out of all these old belief systems about what sex is, then it can be for pleasure and for bliss and for a really beautiful longing of connection. It can be used as a beautiful way to relate to someone else when it's from a really clear space. So the animal kingdom's all about lust, but, humans, we're conscious beings, mainly, and we can choose how we use this energy, this beautiful sexual energy that we have. So, why am I talking about this? Why am I talking about sex? Because sometimes along your parent journey, sex is going to be off the menu. It's going to be off the menu. And what I'm really interested in is supporting couples and supporting parents with how to navigate that. How to navigate when that way of relating to your partner is not available anymore because of whatever reason. Sometimes mum's all, touched out by a baby all day, and the last thing she wants to do is get down and dirty. And so, if dad's kind of stepped into this new role of being a father and being a provider, that's quite a big thing to step into. It's like, sometimes things get to a point where sex is off the menu. So I really, really am interested in supporting couples to find different ways of relating to each other so that they can nurture and keep their connection really solid when their old ways of relating to each other might not be available. So that's why I'm talking about it. But what it also does is it also starts to bring awareness to some of these other things, like these programs that are running underneath. It's almost like we have this operating system that we are conditioned with, when we were children. And when you start to bring awareness to these belief systems, it's like you can go in and start emptying the recycle bin, if you like, and you can start from scratch. You can start to rewire some of these programs that we carry.